Hey, in this episode I'll be showing you how to make two different types of conveyors. First will be the conveyors that just carry scrap as seen in the turret factory in Portal 2, and I'll later also be showing you how to make a conveyor featuring a laser cutter, also like the ones in Portal 2. Conveyors can be great for your maps, offering more unique and engaging gameplay than just standard catwalks, and they also do a great job at making a map feel more atmospheric and alive. There will be timestamps on screen now if you want to skip to a specific section. First thing you will need for the conveyor is the track for it to go on. Here I've just used this model which can be found when searching conveyor, and I've placed it in a line. You want to start and end for these conveyors, some hole in the wall where you can no longer see the conveyors when they go inside. Here I use this model which can also be found when searching conveyors, and then I also use an invisible brush to stop players crawling inside, and a black brush to hide the conveyors appearing or disappearing. Behind the wall you want a little area like this where the player can't see. In here I create a new entity and make it a prop dynamic. In the model browser, select this conveyor belt model, place it on top of the conveyor belt like this, give it a unique name. I'm calling mine Conveyor MDL. Next, beneath the conveyor model, create a new invisible brush. Control T to turn it into a brush entity, and then turn it into a func track train. Give it a name, I'm calling mine Conveyor Track Train. Then parent the model to the track train, set the speed of the track train to 60. You can use other speeds if you want, but it would mean you'd have to do different timings later on. 60 is the speed that Valve uses. Set the distance between the wheels to 0 and set height above the track to 0 also. In flags, tick no pitch, no user control, fixed orientation, rideable train, and is unblockable by player. Create another new entity and make it a path track. Give it a name, I'm calling mine Conveyor Path 1. Move it so that it is at the exact centre of the track train. Then in the track train, set the spawn path track to the path track you just made. Then shift drag to duplicate the path track and place the copy exactly 128 units forward in the direction of the conveyor. You can measure the distance using the select tool. Then duplicate it again, but this time put it at the very end of the track. In the last path track at the end, add the output on pass, activator, kill. Back at the start, create a new entity and make it a point template. Give it a unique name, I'm calling mine Conveyor Template. Then for the first template, you can select the conveyor model, and the second template, you can select the track train. And in flags, uncheck preserve entity names, and check don't remove templates. In the second path track, add the output on pass, name of your template, for spawn. In game it'll now work, but when you first spawn into the map, most of the conveyors will be empty, so unless you only have the conveyor at the end of the map, you will need to fill that in. Shift drag to duplicate the conveyor model and place it in the next adjacent spot on the conveyor. Change the name, I'm naming mine Conveyor Start MDL, and clear the parent. Next, create a new brush entity that goes the entire length of the conveyor, from the model we just made until the end. Make it a func door and give it a unique name, I'm calling mine Conveyor Start Door. In flags, check door silent, change the speed to the same as the starting conveyor, so in this case that's 60. Change the move direction to the direction of the conveyor. If you look at this bit with the circle and the line that points the direction, you want that to line up with the direction of the conveyor from the point of view of the top viewport. In my case, this is 90 degrees. Parent the model to the door, then shift drag to duplicate the model across the entire door. In the door, add the output on fully open, self, kill. Create a new logical auto entity and give it the output on map spawn, name of your door, open. And finally you want to select the door and all the models. You can do this by selecting the first one and then by the names click mark plus add to select all entities with the same name. Then you want to drag these back 4 units. This is to prevent a big gap that can be created in the conveyors. In game it will now all work, but we still need to add the scrap. So for the first section with the door, we can duplicate a conveyor belt model and switch the model to one of these turret debris models. Then duplicate it and place them randomly along the conveyor, also making use of the other turret debris model. Next we want to set it up for the templates. So create one of the turret debris models here, make sure the parent is clear and give it a unique name. I'm calling mine Conveyor Junk 1. Create a new trigger brush and place it in front of the track train. Make it a trigger once, and in flags only check the everything flag. Give it a unique name, I'm calling mine Conveyor Trig 1. In outputs, add the output on start touch, name of your junk model, set parent, activator. Create a new entity and make it a filter activator class. Give it a name, I'm calling it track train filter. In filter class name, you want the class name func_track train. Back in the trigger brush, you want to set the filter name to the name of the filter you just created. This will make sure that only a track train can activate the trigger brush, and when it does, the junk will be parented to the track train. Next, you want to select both the trigger and the junk model and shift drag to duplicate it. On the duplicate, change the model to the turret debris medium, then increment all the names, so Conveyor Junk 2, Conveyor Junk Trick 2. Make sure to change the outputs too. Place it back, overlapping with the first one, then duplicate it again, and this time choose the large debris model, and increment the names to 3. And then once again place it back so it overlaps with the other two. Create a new entity and make it a logic timer. Give it a unique name, I'm calling mine Conveyor Junk Timer. Then create a new entity and make it a logic case. I'm calling mine Conveyor Junk Case. Create another new entity and make it a point template. I'm calling mine Conveyor Junk Template 1. For template 1, select the Junk 1 model, and for template 2, select the Trigger 1 brush. Make 2 new templates and repeat the process for the other 2 models. Next in the logic case, add the output onCase1, name of your first template, for spawn. Then add the same outputs for onCase2 for the second template, and onCase3 with the third. Then in the logic timer, add the output onTimer, name of your logic case, pick random. Then select yes for use random time, then choose the intervals. The faster your conveyor, the lower you want these numbers. At a speed of 60, I'm going for a minimum interval of 4 seconds and a maximum of 6. In game, it should now all work. Generally, something as dynamic as a conveyor will be a great spot for you to place a projected texture facing it to create lots of dynamic shadows. Here's how that looks in game. But we do have a problem with the conveyor models flickering. To fix this, select all the models and disable cheap shadows, and in the middle of the conveyor, create a new entity and make it an info target. Give it a unique name, I'm calling mine Conveyor Light Origin. And again, select all the models and set the lighting origin to this target. In game, it should now all work perfectly. Next, I'll be doing conveyors with laser cutters. For this, I've built a new area with a conveyor similar to the last one. Again, like the last one, we're going to this area behind the wall that the players can't see, and create a new prop dynamic. This time, search Cutter in the model browser, and pick this Cutter panel model. Place it on top of the conveyor, then create a new node draw brush that covers the panel like this. Turn it into a func track train and give it a unique name. I'm calling mine Cutter Panel Track Train. Give the model a unique name too, I'm calling mine Cutter Panel MDL. And set the parent to the track train. In flags for the track train, tick no pitch, no user control, fixed orientation, rideable train, and is unblockable by player, and also set the speed to 60. In the panel model, set hold animation to yes. You also want to rotate it so that it's facing the correct direction. If you go to the model tab and play the cut animation, the direction the cut starts from is the bottom. Then somewhere in the conveyor, preferably at least 640 units away from the end of the visible track, place this new entity and make it a prop dynamic. Select the laser cutter model, rotate it so that the 2 arms are on the left facing the direction the conveyor is going. Center it on the conveyor, give it a unique name, I'm just calling it cutter. Raise the model so that this bottom piece of the conveyor is 6 units beneath this bar on the conveyor track model, like shown here. In the default animation, put cutting panel idle. You can copy and paste this from the animation list. Next, create 2 node draw brushes on either side of the cutter like this. This model doesn't have collision, so we have to add it manually like this. Select both of them and turn them into a func brush. Give them a name, I call them cutter clip. Then between the 2 brushes, create a new trigger brush, make it a trigger hurt. Give a unique name, I'm calling it cutter hurt, and I'm setting it to a damage of 100. Set the parents of both these new brushes to the cutter model, and in the hurt brush, make sure that start disabled is set to yes. Next, we're going to create the particles, so create a new entity and make it an info particle system. Then go to the particle browser. If this system is empty, you can follow the guide in the description to fix that, or you can just type the name of the particle instead, which should still work. The particle we want is called cutting_arm_laser. Give it a unique name, I'm calling mine Cutting Particles 1, shift drag to duplicate it and increment the name, so Cutting Particles 2, do this another time for a total of 3, then create another new entity and make it an info target. If you're not familiar with particle control points, I recommend just following my naming system here. I named this first one Cutter Big Arm Top, and in flags you just check Transmit to Client, Respect PVS. And then you set the parent of the info target to the cutter model. Duplicate the info target and name the duplicate cutter Big Arm Bottom. Repeat the process, but this time instead of big arm, write small arm, and repeat one more time, but this time do right arm. In Cutting Particles 1, set the control point to Big Arm Top, and second to Big Arm Bottom. Repeat for each particle. Small arm on Particles 2, right arm on Particles 3. Next, create a logic auto and add the output onMap spawn, cutter Big Arm Top, set parent attachment, laser_big_arm_start. Then for the big arm bottom you do the same, but the parameter this time is laser_big_arm_end. Small arm top is laser underscore small arm underscore start. Small arm bottom is laser underscore small arm underscore end. Right arm top is laser underscore small arm underscore right underscore start. Right arm bottom is laser underscore small arm underscore right underscore end. Then you can create another output to the cutter clip and cutter hurt to set parent attachment, maintain offset, follow underscore arms. Then you want to rotate each of the particle systems so that they are facing the direction of the conveyor if they weren't already. Next, go to the start of the conveyor and create a new entity and make it a path track. Give it a name, I'm calling mine cutter path 1. Then set the path track as the first path track of the track train, and shift drag to duplicate the path track and place the duplicate 64 units before the conveyor like this. You can use the select tool to measure the distance. You want 64 units between the center of the path track and the center of the hurt brush. Then duplicate again and place this path 128 units in front of the last. Again, you can measure with the select tool. Duplicate the path track again, and you may want to rename the path track as we're about to use alternate paths. I'm going to call it cutter path 3B. Duplicate the path again and place the duplicate at the end of the track. In that last path track, add the output on pass, exclamation mark activator, kill. Make sure the normal and the alternate path track both point towards the final path track. Then place the alternate path overlapping the normal path. In the path before both of those, set the alternate path to cutter path 3B. Back in the track train, create an output on user 1, name of your panel model, set animation, cut. Then in the alternate path, add the output on pass, exclamation mark activator, via user 1. Then create a new no draw brush entity exactly 300 units in length along the direction of the conveyor. Make it a func door, in flags only tick silent. Give it a unique name, I'm calling mine cutter door, and set the speed to 60. Add the output on fully open, cutter door, set speed 100, and on fully open, cutter door, close. And on fully closed, cutter door, set speed 60, and on fully closed, cutter path 2, enable alternate path. In the front door, make sure it is also going the same direction as the conveyor, in my case that's 90 degrees, then parent the cutter model to the cutter door. Now create a new entity and make it an ambient generic. I'm calling this one cutter laser SFX. In the sound browser, switch the sound type to game sounds, then search cut. The sound you want is called wild laser cutout. Shift drag to duplicate the ambient generic and name the duplicate cutter sparks SFX. Then pick the sound wild spark laser cutter. Select both of these entities and set the source entity to the cutter model. Now create a new entity and make it a logic relay. I'm naming it cutter LR. Give it the outputs on trigger, cutter path 2, disable alternate path. On trigger, cutter door, open. On trigger, cutter hurt, enable. On trigger, cutter, set animation, cutting underscore panel. On trigger, cutting particles 1, start, and the same for particles 2 and 3. Outputs to both the ambient generics with play sound, then outputs to all the particles with stop end cap, but with a delay of 5 seconds. And finally, on trigger, cutter hurt, disable with a delay of 5 seconds. Now create a logic auto and give it the output on map spawn, cutter path 2, enable alternate path. Then in the alternate path, add the output on pass, cutter LR, trigger. Then go back to the track train and create a new point template. I'm naming mine cutter panel template, with template 1 as the track train and template 2 as the model. In flags, untick preserve entity names, create a new entity and make it a logic timer. I'm naming mine cutter panel timer. I'm setting the refire interval to 4, then in outputs add on timer, name of your template, for spawn. In game it should now all work. However here I'm going to change the black texture at the end to be an orange light texture, and the walls around it will use the orange metal gradient texture. I'll also set up another projector texture, all to demonstrate lighting with the cutting conveyor. Here is the final result. And one last thing you want to keep in mind for all your conveyors is sound. The most common way to go about this is by using soundscapes. A good one to try would be sab.factory_1, which sounds like this. That's the end of the tutorial, and if you have any questions, any suggestions for future tutorials, or just want to discuss mapping, you can join my Discord. The link is in the description. See ya.